This evening, we have our first speaker session of the month. We are lucky and privileged to have Fiona Weldon, who has over 30 years of experience in working in the disability sector. She has she has cerebral palsy as well. Her initial work in the sector involved, this was quite a long time ago, wasn't it? Setting up a local independent living service, offering personal assistance to local disabled people that wanted more choice and more control over the human support that they needed to assist them with their daily living tasks. She's also had, among other projects, worked with the National Institute for Intellectual Disabilities, delivering evidence-based bespoke training programs for people and exploring what they want for disabled people to enable them to have a better life. This program has travelled both nationally and internationally, and although Fiona's just been upgraded on her job, but when I wrote this, she was strategies for change project work manager at the independent living movement in Ireland. I am going to hand over to Fiona, but just to say that it's such a pleasure to have you here and join us this evening.
It's great to be here as well. I know, and like I lived with Emma years and years ago when she was setting up the CP Hub, and I'm super excited to be here tonight. And so yeah, my role has changed with IMI, and which we're all ever changing. But I was really so recently I have become a wheelchair user, and I have started to tell my OT and physio what I need as opposed to them telling me what they think I need. So voice is really important. Sorry, I had to say that because I was delighted to say, yeah. Anyway, okay. I'm going to share my screen. So I have a PowerPoint. And if it doesn't work for people, that's okay. We can do it another way. And so you guys can tell me if you can see my screen. Can you all see my screen?
Maybe just put it on presenter view. And
yes, I'm going to do that now. So how's that?
Perfect.
Yeah, okay. Can we all see it? Okay, so as I said, my name is Fiona Weldon. I work for Independent Living Movement Ireland, and my role has changed in the past week. So I'm now the capacity officer with ILMI, and I actually don't know what that's going to entail yet. But we are going to explore it in the next few weeks. So a little bit about who we are. So ILMI is a cross-impairment national disabled people's organization. And we are led by disabled people and promote a rights-based social model approach to disability. We are about challenging the unacceptable charity and medical model of disability. And we're working towards the removal of societal barriers that prevent active equal participation of disabled people, challenging denial of disabled people's rights, and the promotion that disabled people living like everybody else with the accommodations and the support that they need to do this. Our work is about agency, and this is about discovery, capacity, and control over one's life. It involves having options and making informed choices. It's about social justice, and this is about making rights real and making more equal distribution of resources. It's about dismantling structural ableism and embedding the social model of disability, thinking, policy making, and policy implementation. Does that make sense? Is that too wordy? We are okay. Does anybody have questions? We are okay? Cool. So who I was to who I am now. So as a child with a CP label, it defined who I was very much so. It was all about doctors, physiotherapists, OT assessments, and trying to walk as long as I could for as long as I can. So it was, for example, my physiotherapist when I was about 10 years of age told my mother that I had to walk a mile a day with a sack of bellators in both of my hands to get stronger. So as a person that done what she was told, I did that. I looked very ridiculous with a bag of bellators and both sides of my arms. I'm walking up and down the road every day of the week. But yeah, I done what I was told. I was treated very differently at home in that I didn't do any of the extra things that my sisters and brothers did. So I didn't go swimming, I didn't play football, I didn't play basketball, I didn't have a job, like a part-time job. I didn't, I didn't do anything that was, that any other normally whatever kid done, because I was labeled different, but I also felt different. I was very passive when I was younger. I was very angry, and I'm very low self-esteem, and my confidence was in my shoes whenever I wore them. But whenever I took them off, I don't know where my confidence was. So I suppose when I transitioned into being a teenager, going to secondary school, I kind of found my voice a little bit because I made really good friends. So I started going to discos, started wearing makeup and fake tan, and doing my nails and my toenails, and I was started to like who I looked like, and it was kind of that I didn't buy into the difference, if that makes sense. So I started being comfortable in my own skin. But I really identified with this lady, and her name is Denise Lance. She's an American activist, and she has CP, and she is. Sorry?
No, sorry.
Are you okay? Did you want to ask a question?
Sorry,
No?
can someone put her name in the chat, please?
I actually have it in a PowerPoint, and I can give it to Emma and Miriam to give to you guys afterwards. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
Would that be okay? Is that okay, guys? Okay. So Denise is, I don't know what age she is, maybe she's 50-ish or whatever, but like she did a TED Talk a few years ago, and she talked about needing support and needing help. And she talked about being hammered with shame, and she talked about needing help was a sign of weakness. She believed that she needed to do everything for herself by herself. And she really struggled with asking for help and support. And she asked, why can I just not accept help when offered? Because a voice inside her head still tells her that she needs to do it by herself. And like I have discovered over the years of working within disability support services, and now I'm working for a disabled person organization, that independent living is a term used, but it's abused by traditional disability support services. And it creates a myth about independence, being independent. And Denise talks about we are all human and we're all interdependent creatures, and needing help makes us human. So needing support is not a sign of weakness. And I have a link to her TED talk in the PowerPoint, and I'll share with you later. So who am I now? Okay, I'm very different to who I was then. Okay, and so who am I now? I'm perimenopausal. Okay, and I know some of you are young and some are men, and so it's a part of a woman's life where her body begins to change, and it's around reproduction. And I'm not going to into it, but it's about our hormones are working and needing support with our hormonal balance. So I'm a disabled woman and with an impairment label of CP, and harvesting birth, obviously it doesn't go away. Regardful of applying for services again and again and again to prove I have an impairment or have CP. I don't know if they think it disappears, because it doesn't go away. And I live and breathe that through the lens of the social model of disability. Okay, and that's really important. And I suppose I discovered the social model of disability in my early 20s when I set up a personal assistance support service for disabled people. And then I studied in Leeds University when I was in my 30s. And I did the Disability Studies Master course. And it clearly states that my CP, my impairment label, is not the reason why I experience discrimination. Okay. It's the systematic barriers that are socially constructed that get in my way. Okay. So it's not my CP at fault. So it's the inaccessible environments. It's the idea that I'm less than or less able, or I'm experiencing devaluation. It's the provision of disability services that are mostly run, guys, by non-disabled people. And this keeps disabled people living outside of the normal rhythms of life. The disability business or the disability industry is multi-million. There is huge money within disability support systems. I don't know what it's like over in England. What is it like over there, money-wise? Because we have, it's millions of euro over here.
I think my understanding is a lot of the things that happen in Ireland are mirrored here in the UK. So I suspect it would be the same.
The same. Okay. And it was an awful lot better, Emma. I know when I studied in the UK, maybe it was in the late 1990s, like there was an awful lot of activism and proactive work, and the provision of a PA was a right and stuff like that. But I know I have heard from people that it's regressed. It's gotten worse over the time, and the government have an awful lot got to do with it. Yes. Okay. So has anybody ever heard of internalized ableism? Yeah, it's a serious issue, and it's endemic. It's endemic in society. So internalized ableism is about people doing what they are told. It's about expecting your lot in life. I'm expecting what I can get, what I am given, or what I'm entitled to. I see myself as a consumer. I haven't, all my life, I suppose over the last 20 years, I have started to say what I want as opposed to what I can get. So disability support services and what they provide, they get money to do it. They don't do it freely, or it's not an unpaid job. So the money that they're getting should be focused on quality services and quality support. I see Sarah has a hand up.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
I
Right,
can.
I live with a group of people with CP. Well, majority have CP. One has a stroke, one's had a stroke, but he's got a brain injury. Now, majority of them are like what you just said, not ableism there. They just accept what they're given. They don't question anything. They don't say, they think the carers, able-bodied people, are higher up than they are. So, they just accept. It's something, if they say something's, you've got to do something, they don't say, they moan and grumble, but they wouldn't do anything proactive, like complain to the management or something like that. They would just groan and mumble. And also they would, if something happens to them by a carer or whatever, they would say, well, I don't want to say anything because I don't want to get them in trouble. You get what I mean? So they're quite passive.
Yes.
Because
Well,
they've been institutionalized. Do you know what I mean? They don't mix with the public, as in mixture of able-bodied and but they have their own house, but they can't do anything in it. They can't do banking statements. They can't, because they've not been shown how to do it, and because age, of course. I'm the youngest in the place, and I was brought up with able-bodied people. But yeah, when I first moved in, oh my God, it was like going back in time. It really was. I thought, oh my God.
And it's not them people's fault, Sarah, because
No, it's not. It's not.
No.
It's nobody's fault. It's 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 every. It should be, but it was like 60, 50 years ago, and with smashing it takes time.
Yeah, it does. But there's an awful lot of people that acquire their impairments that don't know the landscape of disability services or how they work. So the majority of disabled people in the world have acquired their impairments. And so those that have impairments from birth are like they're less than those that have acquired their impairments. And like that is a direct response to living in a non-disabled world, you know. And so you know, as a disability activist and capacity officer, it's about helping them people to understand that there is a better life.
Also, I am premenopausal.
Are you
and
okay? So am I.
And I'm boiling and I'm hot all the time.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
hot. I'm feeling like burning up now with electrolytes.
Here's what I found.
Yeah, and like I started getting interested. Sorry, guys, if there's guys in the room, Dean, I can see you there. But like I think every person should know what menopause and premenopause is, and
Yeah, it doesn't bother me at all. Don't worry about it. Not
that's
bothered.
good man. I like to hear that. Yeah, good man. But like, yeah, so it's really important that we look after ourselves as we age, and like menopause is just part and parcel of aging as a woman, you know, and we need healthcare support to manage our hormones. And Sarah, isn't it, Sarah? But I wrote a piece a little while ago on, I went to a national menopause summit, I'd say about two months ago, and I wrote a paper on it, and I can send it to Maureen and Emma and Sarah. If you want to have a chat again about it, we can certainly have a chat about it again. Is that okay?
Just sorry, I'm going to interject just to let everybody know that I've recently been interviewed on a podcast talking about that very subject, about how we need to think about women with disabilities. So that is coming out as part of the series that they're just launching. So when I have a date for that, I will share that with everybody. But it's certainly a subject that we're conscious here of.
Excellent, that's brilliant. Okay, thanks for the comment. It was great. And so, as I said, like, I'm a consumer of services, and there's no freebies. You don't get, it's all about money. So like, as a consumer, I consume a whole range of services depending on what I need and want. And like, I started to demand partnerships. I started to say what I needed as opposed to what they thought I needed. So for example, like 6-7 years ago, I started to use a powered wheelchair. But I didn't know anything about wheelchairs or power wheelchairs or whatever. So I went to, well, obviously my OT and my physio, and between them all, they decided what I needed. So my wheelchair arrived at my door, and it was bulky, heavy, big, very, yeah, and they expected my PA to be lifting the chair in out of my car, and my husband to be able to be lifting the chair in and out every time I needed to use it. So we were forced to think that we needed to buy a car that could fit my chair in, which would cost an awful lot of money. And then a few years later, I started to wonder, could I get something different to meet my needs and meet the car specs that I wanted to use? And I discovered chairs that the HSE, and so that's the health service executive here in Ireland, and they provide disability sports and provision and whatever. And I started to say, well, look, this is what I want. So I discovered there's lightweight chairs. I discovered there's collapsible chairs. I discovered that you can use like an add-on motor on a motorized chair to get around. Now I know it doesn't meet the needs of every disabled person that uses a wheelchair, but it definitely met the needs, my needs. And yeah, and I got it. And now it's old and I have to get a new one. But like I have to go back again, and I met with my engineer and my health service and executive. Like we have CHO, we have areas around the country. And again, I told them what I needed, but I got an email a few weeks ago telling me, well, this is not a usual thing that we do. We don't usually, get requests for specific wheelchairs to buy, but leave it with me, and we see how we get on. So, it's about, being informed. It's about knowing your body, knowing that you are the experts of your own body, and like your lived experience is expert, so using that lived experience can inform policy, can inform practice, can inform the disability services that you may use or will use, to make better outcomes, because we all want the same thing. Do you think? I think we all want to. We all want to live our best lives, I think, regardless of impairment or disability. And so I do demand what I need. And they don't always like it, but that's all right. And because I say it very nicely. And if I meet someone I don't like, I'm nicer to them. I make more effort to be nicer to them. And I had discovered through INMI that one voice works, one collective voice works than one voice. So collectively working together to demand change is really important. We are all intersectional. So have you heard of intersectionality? Intersectionality, yeah, it's really, really important. So it is. And people are complex and we're multifaceted with many interwoven attributes making up our identity. So I'm not only a disabled woman with CP, I'm much more than my impairment. We can't talk about women's rights unless we talk about disability. We can't talk about employment rights without talking about disability. We can't talk about racism without talking about disability. We can't talk about education without talking about disability. So disability and being a disabled person is interwoven. We are more than our impairment. We are more than people with CP. So I'm a woman, obviously. I'm a mother though, and I'm a wife. I'm a work colleague. I'm a friend. I'm a disability activist. I belong to a movement that collectively works for change. And disability activism is about people striving to improve all disabled people's lives by working together towards the removal of societal barriers that prevent them from living like everybody else. An activist journey can start from a hunger to change and inequality that they can experience within their own lives, and consequently develop a passion for collective activism to eradicate ableism in all its forms. So it's about the fire in the belly. It's about the anger, using the anger, but in a really positive way. Does that make sense? I know I'm very privileged, so I am, because I'm white. And I come from middle class background. I'm educated. I have a job that I love, and I can go on holidays. I have a personal assistant, and I have my own personalized budget. I have the freedom to do what I want when I want, within reason. Now I love a Ferrari, but I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. But that's okay. And so I am totally different to what I was. Any questions? Are we okay? Am I doing all right? Yeah. Okay. All right. So independent living, I call it IL. Okay. And I'm learning about independent living over and over again. I discover more and more every time I do this type of talk. So independent living, as defined by the disabled people's movement. Okay, so it's important to recognize that independent living can be defined in different ways depending on the service or depending on the person or whatever. But like, as defined by disabled people, okay, it's not about doing things by yourself, for yourself. So you don't have to try for 100 years to put on a sock, or try to take a shower and like be afraid to fall. You know, it's not about that. But it is about being in control over how things are done for you. Does that make sense? Yeah, okay, we got, okay. So central to this is the social model of disability. So impairment is separate from disability. So I have CP and I have to manage it and look after it, and that's okay, you know. And but like, it's the barriers, the disabling barriers that keep me, or try to keep me, outside of living an ordinary life. Does that make sense? So it's a group of ideas. It's a particular way of thinking and living. And it's a belief in your right to live like everybody else. Yeah, okay. Okay. So it's about having the freedom to have the same choices as everybody else has. It's about choosing what aspects of social, economic and political life people want to participate in. It's about having control over your life, having a family, having a job, and participate socially. It's about realizing your goals and dreams. And it's about having access to the 7 basic needs of independent living. So it's about basically society accommodating our needs to live like everybody else. And obviously we're all intersectional. We're not all the same. Just because we have CP doesn't mean we're all the same. CP is like an umbrella group for lots of different kinds. ICD nodding there. So it can and does look different for every one of us. Okay. So I'll start off with a personal assistant. So that's one of the basic needs. Okay. Universally designed housing. Peer mentoring and peer support is another important basic need. Access to the right information and accessible information is another one. Assistive technology is huge, and it's getting better and better. So it is, and so are environmental controls. So like Alexa, for example, light switches, light bulbs that like you can tell Alexa to turn on and off, like shutting your curtains and closing your blinds and simple stuff like opening doors, opening windows. There's huge technology and smart technology that supports people to be able to do things by the press of a button or use their voice. It's about access to the built environment, and it's about access to transport. Are we all okay? We go on? Yeah.
Personal assistance is a concept that comes out of the disabled people's movement. Rather than being dependent on family members or care workers in an institution, disabled people can live independently in the community, supported by workers who they pay directly and therefore control. Simon Brissenden, independent living pioneer, said, "We need to be clear about what we mean by independence. We're not talking about being able to do everything for yourself. Neither does it imply cutting oneself off from the assistance of others. For what matters is not whether you do something with or without the help of others, but that it gets done under your direction. Being independent simply means that you have some control over your life and that you don't live by the routine of others." Personal assistance avoids dependency. Instead of having to feel grateful to other people for their kindness, disabled people are paying for their service. It's a contractual exchange. The worker gets their wages, the disabled person gets things done which they couldn't do for themselves. Neither party loses out. As a result, personal assistance is empowering. The disabled person can decide who supports them, at what times, and in what ways. They're in control. This is revolutionary and transformational for disabled people. Personal assistance is also flexible. It can be different for different people and on different days. A personal assistant is different from a carer or a health professional. They answer to their employer, the disabled person, and work under their direction. Personal assistance relies on the working relationship between the disabled person and the personal assistant. In fact, there can be a series of working relationships between a disabled person and each person who works for them. Although this is a reciprocal relationship, because one person is getting paid and the other is getting support and assistance, it is still a human relationship with all that that entails. And it can mean spending many hours in each other's company. It can mean carrying out some very intimate and personal assistance tasks. Most human relationships are complex, whether in the family, at work, or in friendships. Human relationships involve different roles and different feelings. Misunderstandings can sometimes arise as a result of these different roles and different feelings. Good communication can help avoid misunderstandings. Personal assistance has been with us for 40 years, but it's still unfamiliar to many people. And there are no clearly established rules or roles. There's no one single agreed model for personal assistance relationships. There are several different ways of organising personal assistance, and we cannot say one way works better than all the others. After all, disabled people will prefer different approaches. The basis for this training is a research project conducted at the University of East Anglia and funded.
Okay, so yeah, and do you know the guy that was speaking? No. Okay, so I will send you the links to some of his work. But his name is Tom Shakespeare. And yeah, and he does an awful lot of work around personal assistance and independent living and more. And he is a disabled person. And that piece of footage is from a training course that he researched and delivered in the University of East Anglia. So it's worth having a look at that piece of that resource. Is really good. So like, yeah, I have been, for many years, I have tried to define what a personal assistant is for myself, and to promote the idea of around it's not a caring position. It's not a home help. I don't know if you guys have home help over here. We have a plethora of agencies over here that provide carers and caring for people as opposed to people being in control of their own care or support needs. And it's getting worse over here. They're popping up everywhere. So they are. So like, my definition of a personal assistant is it's an individual and they're contracted by a disabled person. So I hire my PAs and they provide me with the support that I need in the aspects of daily living that I need around personal and intimate support, around domestic tasks, around assistance in school, university, in the workplace, and when out and about. So it's different for different people. So it is. And personal assistance is not right in Ireland. It's very resource-based and it's very different and looks different in every county we live in, or what part of the county or the country you live in. And yeah, and it's really hard. So like, I know I talked about being privileged, and because I do have personal assistance, I do have funding, and I employ my own PA. I'm in total control over it. And I know an awful lot of people are in that position. Another really important and part of independent living is having access to peer mentoring and peer support. And look, here it is, the up movement, peer support. You know, it's fundamental. It can't work without having peers, without being connected to other disabled people. It can't work. It doesn't work. You know, like I remember in school, I was the only disabled person in school. I went to mainstream school, and we were talking about this in Marine, weren't we? And like I didn't know any other disabled person, and until I was maybe in my late 20s, but I wasn't comfortable I didn't like being around them because back then I didn't know, but now I knew it was my own insecurities. I didn't like, I was uncomfortable with my own skin, and it reminded me that I was different, that I wasn't normal. Who the heck is normal? I don't know any fucking person that's normal. So striving for normal, you could be there for, until you're 99 and still haven't got the answer. But peer mentoring is essential. Okay, so you guys are essential. You're connecting with, you're talking about different things. God almighty, Miriam and Emma, I was at one of the sessions you done during lockdown around sex. Holy God, and I brought them over to Ireland. They were in Ireland, they were magnificent, so they were. But it's such an uncomfortable issue. And I think you had over 30 or 40 people talking about sex. What? Yeah, it was brilliant. So parenting is really important. Being connected with like-minded people is really important. Being connected with disabled people that might have more experience than you around independent living and activism issues, and you working together to make things happen. It's essential. It's just, and we don't have that. We don't have funding for that. So we don't have natural support systems that nurture that peer mentoring support. Like we brought out a book actually, and last week. It's called Conversations about Activism and Change, and I'll send you the link to it. But it's about the lives of 10 or 11 disabled people, around being connected, around friendship, around having fun, around saying this is not right and I want things different. So I can't not enhance the effectiveness or the quality of having that sort of support. It's just essential. So it is. And then other prerequisites, access to the built environment. We need to get around freely wherever we're going, whether it's on the streets, in the shops, in hotels, whatever. We need access to it. We need technology, assistive technology, and it's only growing. There are so many technologies out there. Alexa, I know I said it. Alexa's fucking brilliant, guys. I have her spelling words because I'm dyslexic, I can't spell. I have her turning on and off my lights. I have her turning up and down my closing my curtains, opening my curtains. Like, I have a robotic Hoover. Oh my God. That's all I'll say. It has transformed my life. No more washing floors or hoovering. Turn on my robotic Hoover. She does okay, I call her Molly, but it is fantastic. So it is. Environmental controls, fantastic. I don't know what it's like with money and supports around that. In Ireland, it's non-existent. We're only talking about universally designed housing, and we're in the year 2023. Are you crazy? They're still building houses that we can't get into for a winter either. That's absolutely ludicrous. And over in Ireland, we are building smaller houses. we need accessible mode of transport. We need to get around freely. And we need access to information in formats that individuals need. So, so if it's braille, easy read, whatever, we need access to that information. And I'll stop talking and you can, when I start. I don't know if any of you guys heard of Alafranska. So, I got to know Alafranska about 2 years ago. And he is an activist, and he is one of the godfathers, even though he gives out to me over saying that he's a godfather. I'm promoting the right to live like everybody else, but he's absolutely fantastic. And Dean has his hands up. Dean.
I was going to wait until you finished talking and perhaps hand back to Miriam, and then you can invite anybody who likes to comment, to comment after you've spoken. So I'll comment after you've spoken, Fiona. Thank you.
That's okay, Dean. Okay, so let's play the video. It's only very short, but I think what he says is really, really important.
Hello, everybody. I'm delighted to be with you, at least electronically, to share with you a few thoughts on independent living. Independent living is a philosophy and a movement of people with disabilities who work for self-determination, equal opportunities, and self-respect. Independent living does not mean that we want to do everything by ourselves and do not need anybody, or that we want to live in isolation. Independent living means that we demand the same choices and control in our everyday lives that our non-disabled brothers and sisters, neighbors and friends take for granted. We want to grow up in our families, go to the neighborhood school, use the same bus as our neighbors, work in jobs that are in line with our education and interests, and start families of our own. Since we are the best experts on our needs, we need to show the solutions we want. We need to be in charge of our lives. Think and speak for ourselves just as everybody else. To this end, we must support and learn from each other, organize ourselves, and work for political changes that lead to the legal protection of our human and civil rights. As long as we regard our disabilities as personal tragedies, we will be pitied. As long as we feel ashamed of who we are, our lives will be regarded as useless. As long as we remain silent, we will be told by others what to do. This was my definition. Article 19 of the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities has a shorter version. It says, living independently and being included in the community with choices equal to others. To reach the goal of independent living, we need, among other things, universal design and personal assistance for everyone who requires it, regardless of age, diagnosis, family situation, or income. Universal design means that the human-made environment, such as buildings, modes of transportation, devices, communications, and the media, are accessible and usable by everyone on equal terms. That's the goal. To get there, we have to do most of the work ourselves. We cannot rely on others. If we sit back and wait for our governments, for social workers, or service providers to fix our problems, we can wait forever. In the past, they've come up with solutions that meet their needs, not our needs. In working for universal design and personal assistance, we need to build strong organizations that are run by experts, that is, persons with disabilities who are accountable to persons with disabilities. Our movement needs members who are eager to work for our noble cause, who are committed to fight the discrimination we still face, who do not tolerate the injustice that is unworthy of our countries. We need our best people work in our organizations, in politics, in the media, in research, business, in the arts. But independent living is much more than working at the national level, more than meeting with politicians, formulating arguments, or initiating research. The most important work for our self-determination takes place at the individual level. Each and every one of us, you and me, have an obligation to make the best of our own individual situation, to the best of our abilities. All of us can learn to take more responsibilities for our lives, to take on more duties within our families, to contribute more to our communities, to be useful, to contribute, will make us feel better about ourselves, will increase our self-respect. The more we can do for ourselves and others, the more other people can rely on us, and the more we count in our families and communities. As you change the way you look at yourself, people around you will also look at you differently. When we respect ourselves more, other people will also respect us more and respect our rights more. That's the plan. Now let's work for it. All the best.